is the promise of DePINs. We need to create a transparent crowdsourced solution for the real world needs. Although it was coined, I think, by Messari in 2022 or 2021, I'm not really sure. But there were builders like Jasmy and IoTX, Peak, they were building well before that, so was Helium. So it is just a narrative which now catches the imagination of people. Before I introduce my guests who are expert in these, my name is Yog. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FarmScent. We are building a DePIN ecosystem, but for the real life farmers, not the farming, those crypto farming guys, no, real life farmers. Okay. So may I ask all the speakers to give one-liner introduction so that we can jump into the topic before we move forward. Just raise your hand and go one by one. Consensus needed, so maybe Bas.
Hi, Jörg. Thank you for the invite. My name is Bas. I'm responsible for marketing with Bistro, and at Bistro we're building the largest DePIN for restaurants and their customers. We now have 80,000 users in our validator market, and we're currently getting ready for a global rollout later this year.
Awesome. All right, Dean.
Yeah, hey guys, nice to meet you. I'm Daniel, partner of DNAT. In general, what's DNAT? It's a DePIN storage protocol with tokenized storage. And from the application side, I think I'd mark DNAT storage. It's kind of decentralized and private analog of Dropbox with more than 80K users for the moment. So it's the largest Web3 storage application in the market. So that's pretty much it. Like, what else? I love DePIN. I believe that it's future. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Daniel. Anyone, please just take mic, start one by one, so we move to topic quickly.
Hey guys, Pankaj from Witness Chain here. Thanks for having me. So Witness Chain is building a DePIN coordination layer. This is done by bridging the cyber-physical gap with physical state consensus protocols that we have, like proof of location, proof of bandwidth, etc. For DePINs, it serves as a verification mechanism and enables composability and programmability. So we are building this as an AVS on eigen layer, and we have, and this network is currently secured by over $8 billion in restake ETH. So yeah, our promise is to unify these DePIN economies and enable a new form of DeFi for DePINs, which I can talk about later during this. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Hey guys, I guess it's my turn to speak. So this is Urosh here, OG DePIN DGen. I've been in this space since the early Helium days. Yeah, working on Onakoi and YHI, two DePINs built on Solana.
Amazing. So you were literally before the DePIN was DePIN, yeah?
Yeah, it was called proof of physical work back then. I don't even know when that term was coined, but yeah, around early 2020 is when I started doing this.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's move to the next speaker.
Yeah, thank you for inviting this meeting. So I am Hara, the CEO of Junction and CFO of Jasmy. Jasmy is the biggest Japanese blockchain project already listed on Coinbase and Binance, and and also this Junction is focused on unique layer 2 blockchain project that provides accurate and traceable data input while protecting personal information and privacy. Yeah, it's specifically designed to support startups in developing products using AI and creating large language models. Yeah, thank you so much for today.
Amazing. Welcome. And yeah, good to see you here because we have heard a lot about Jasmy and of course, real early days you started building. So I've been observing lately. And this is for maybe last a couple of years that DePIN is finally getting the limelight. I'm saying that I always believe that it has always deserved the limelight. whether it is Helium or Jasmy, as you guys say, Peak Network or IoTX, are building for years. Yes, it hasn't got the limelight it is getting today. But I want to also explore, is there any method to this madness? Is there some reason why this is happening? Is it because of everybody suddenly thinking about sharing economy concept, or is there some because of some negative elements which are like limitations in traditional infrastructure, or is just hype, right? I expect our panels to shed some light on this. Please go one by one. I want to just keep the things conversation very precise in a way that you can highlight your experience project, or you are part of any project. Just feel free. There is no harm in sharing, so just go ahead, but highlight the reason behind why DePIN is getting this limelight.
So
If I may go first. Sorry. Here you can go ahead.
well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I have a perspective to give that's possibly different than others. Since I've been around for a little bit of time, um, and even when I got into this space, me and my co-founder, our vision was that, or our expectation was that DePIN would be the story of this cycle, not the last cycle. Um, and our thinking was at the time, and I think it's very similar to today's thinking, is that in the end, it's really hype driven. Crypto is very much hype driven, right? Like every cycle has some story to it. From early days Bitcoin, then you had all the altcoin stuff, and then you had ICOs and et cetera, et cetera. And deep in and what drives this hype in the end is miners, right? Like if you think about it, back when Bitcoin was new, it was all about. It all started with, oh, you can actually just run your computer. This was before GPU mining, and you can get some Bitcoin out of this, and people get excited, and they do that, and then they generate this token. It drives some hype, gets the price action up, then it creates this flywheel effect, and obviously you can build a network off of that if the network makes sense. And that's what happens here with DePIN. It's again, you can. Not everybody has access to credit, right? Not everybody has a ton of money. Some people, especially younger people in poorer regions, can only earn tokens through mining, and it gets and that's how the hype really typically starts, I would say. Because someone who, like a VC or somebody who's been in this space for a while, like myself, I'm not very much interested in mining myself. But when I got started, I was very much interested in mining. I ran a couple GPUs mining Bitcoin and altcoins and stuff, and I think DePIN is the same thing. So it's about creating this flywheel effect through mining and price appreciation of the token. So that's mainly my perspective. Now, why DePIN specifically over everything else? That I can't really give an answer to. It just might be something random. It just might be a great idea, right? It is a great idea. It's just why now? I don't really have a specific answer to that.
Awesome. And we'll explore that, Bas.
Yeah, thanks for your input. I sympathize with your view, as that that was my first introduction as well. Back in the day, first got exposed to it by Sia Coin back then still. Started mining this, and then later on got a Helium miner and got involved in the Helium community. But yeah, I think the rise comes a lot from, it's kind of been around for a long time with a lot of these projects, but we've just sort of now started to pull it all together under the term DePIN. But I think, increased demand for data privacy and security and, user control over your information, coupled with being rewarded for that, which I think, you should be, if you're giving something, you should be getting something back for that as well. I think those are some key drivers in why we're seeing the rise of DePIN now.
Awesome. Pankaj, you want to go?
Yeah, so I think I agree that there's some need for hype and drive, but why deepen, I believe, is because there was no such term that existed for all these projects to fall under and create this kind of flywheel effect that we talked about just now. So earlier, I think deepins have been around for a long time actually, but there was this term, like you said earlier, was caused by Messari only in 2022, and that's just like 1 or 2 years ago. And since then, this hype kind of started getting created because a lot of things aligned very well. So if you see Peak, Minima, Airtex, all of these projects, Layer 1 projects launching their chains, adding programs for deepins to build on top of them, providing the support. Earlier, you had to do everything from scratch yourself, right? So these two factors, I think, are the biggest ones. And the more recently, what happened was the AI hype that came. So DeepInX AI is kind of like a win narrative. By default, you win if you just say AIX deepen in the cycle. And I think that drove a lot of attention towards deepen, where a lot of deepen uh, came up in the AI space, be it GPU deepens or data deepens, be it for inferencing or otherwise, right? And I think these 3-4 factors aligning very nicely around the same time, and also happening alongside this Bitcoin halving, the usual bull cycle time, kind of created this very nice effect where this deepen kind of got to rise, and now you see a lot of projects building. So that's my perspective of how this came out to be.
Thank you. Hara, you
Yeah. So this the rate of dipping is very important task, and I think it's driven by the growing use of blockchain technology. That means I am basically a CPA from Japan, so that's why I know where about the traditionally finance. Of course, this is of including this infrastructure. So infrastructure investment required large amounts of capital and were centralized. So this leading to high costs and inefficiencies, right? So, however, with the widespread use of blockchain, so for example, easy to create our own chains, right? So participants can now support large infrastructure projects with minimal capital investment. So that's why infrastructure presents many challenges. But the most important is monopolies. This situation is monopolized. So that's why decentralizing infrastructure management is an urgent issue, I think. So which is, primary reason DePIN has come into the spotlight. So that's why I think so. DePIN is now sometimes they are like a trending word, right? I believe this is the game-changing world the new DePIN will bring. So this means so it's a new century, I think. Yeah, thank you.
that's amazing. Actually, what you meant is okay, we always had the reasoning, but now this deep in word is just making us all unite in one direction so that we can differentiate from the projects and create a narrative which actually catches the imagination of people, saying whether we can participate in such an economy or not. So yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, please go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I agree with Hara. In general, I think the current DePIN hype, it's a lot about the alternative to the Bitcoin mining, but with very kind of easy entry and low threshold. Like now to start like mining Bitcoin, for example, you should have a lot of money and you should be tech savvy if you do it yourself. In terms of DePIN, in just a couple of clicks and you're running like a lot of nodes at the same time from your personal computer or buying some like already made nodes and stuff like this. And people really like this like casual style of node running. So another thing, like in general, I think people like the idea of utilizing their kind of daily routine. For example, the thing that a Hive Mapper and Netix did already, it's pretty interesting, and I really love it. So you're just driving your car and you're earning some tokens. You like make some kind of a good information for people who can buy it. And in general, I think this is also pretty much the idea, because people really like passive income. And if they can just turn on their personal computer and run some different nodes, but it's very casual like style, it's what people like, and it's what the current DePIN hype about. It's just about not running. Still, it's not about the consumption. So, but I think it's like the next topic probably.
Yeah, but very nice and valid points made, Daniel. One is you touched on user experience, and that's been an issue actually. It's not so easy to mine. It is for real technical people, and not long ago, even the tools like MetaMask and all other were all, and I don't want to name Polkadot.js, but all were meant for technical people. And with Deepin, I think we are giving them um, things they're already using. You mentioned Natix, one of my favorite project, and Silencio is one of them, which is like you are using your mobile phone to do participate in this economy. I think this is very valid and amazing point made. Some of the things like in our personal experience, we felt we can catch agriculture data from oil or supply chain data from storage sensors and stuff like that. We felt that that would aid our farmers, right? And that would also help for our traceability system. But then we realized that can a Southeast Asian farmer afford $1,000 sensor? If they can't, then what we do? So we understood what other projects have implemented and took some of the key things they have done and said, why not someone who's sitting in the US or in Europe can actually be a co-host and provide the sensor, which is essential for agriculture. So so there are various ways and various reasons, but this is on rise. This is definitely on rise. Earlier, we could count a few of the sectors this deep in where, and today, the cake is becoming larger. And of course, that many things like computing and storage started snowballing after ChatGPT launched. But there are various other things also, because people started thinking that I can participate, as Daniel was mentioning, and Hara also made a very good point in there. So if I ask you guys, what do you think that key sectors you are aiming, for example, storage, computing, or AI, or agriculture, or telecom, or supply chain? What do you think that these are going to be the key sectors to watch out in DeepIn? And if possible, please also give a reason why. And you are allowed to share your own sector. Please go ahead.
Since I'm sector agnostic, I think I can just go first. I think AI has created this massive hype, and we already see even from recent news what's happening with Nvidia. I would definitely think GPU compute networks, a GPU deepin probably is the hottest sector to look out for. But nonetheless, I'm very sure that there are a lot of other sectors which will be very fast growing and catching up soon. And yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Please go ahead individually. Just raise your hand and go ahead.
All right, I'll jump in. So I think there's multiple sectors here that are in play, particularly, as other speakers already mentioned, sectors that are easy to get into. We have the big sectors like wireless, storage, sensors that have a pretty low barrier of entry that you can just do with your own device. Helium, I think, is a good example, an old player. Filecoin as well. But I think there's also sectors that are more up and coming now and that have less players. Mobility is a good example as well, with the likes of Hivemapper, Dymo, Nadix, teleport, as you mentioned, what FarmSend is doing as well in supply chain management, but also sectors like commerce, where we're in with Bistro as well. So I think there's a lot of good opportunities to look forward to, and still a long way to go when it comes to the evolution of DePIN.
Go ahead, Hara. Go ahead.
Oh, cool. So key sector of DePIN. Yeah, so we Junction, we view DePIN as a user engagement reward program that can be realized online. So our special focus is on the valuable data that user have. And also even the GPUs that power the generative AI in the background. So this means individuals actually hold a lot of highly valuable data, right? So companies are eager to have access to this accurate data. So if we can be provided in an anonymized and abstracted form so that individuals cannot be identified, so companies can use this data while reducing the risk of data leakage, right? So moreover, companies developing AI products have a significant demand for accurate data and GPUs to run their AIs. So this demand will only grow as the market expands. So that's why we Junction aggregates distributed GPUs and provide them along with high quality data. This is also get some approval from users, or it's very clear where is the data coming from. So especially for startups company have some good like a passion, good vision, and some good team, but they don't have enough money. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else want to add? Please jump in.
Yeah, again, I agree with Hara. So, in general, I think we should spend a lot of resources, and that what we do for the moment, on building the application layer. I mean, for now, everyone have nodes, and everyone have a lot of like data keepers, different like capacity providers. But still, if we are talking about like consumption, it's not enough. Like it's almost nothing for the moment. And this is the area where we should put our resources to, in my opinion. And this is going to be the next level of the DePIN development. So we should build like the application which we're already used to, but combine it with Web3 technologies to make it like cheaper, faster, more like transparent, more private. So yes, that's it.
I want to ask a follow-up question to you on that, because you touched on a very nice thing. Now, in that case, what would be the focus towards the demand or the supply?
I think the main thing that we should focus on is creating the demand. So supply, we already have a lot of resources to distribute. If you'll check like many like DePIN projects, they have a lot of capacities, but they don't have a demand. So, and this is what we should work on. I mean, in terms of GPU, in terms of other stuff, so it's still much more complicated than centralized analogs. And this is where we should put our focus on. It's like, in my opinion.
Awesome. Yes, Professor, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I mean, the demand, if we're going to, as builders, put focus on anything, it should be demand.
We lost you for a moment. Okay, so I'll just extend the question.
Hello?
Before we. All right.
Sorry, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, no, just for the supply side is easy to build out, and we see that very much like at this point, and it's a hype cycle, and you just found a DePIN project, and you can probably get quite a good amount of interest from the supply side. Yet, what I ask myself as a builder is uh, focusing so much on miners, is that really my responsibility? Because in the supply chain, miners are, I'm their customer, so they should be making me happy. Or- Whereas down the supply chain, it's the customers I should be trying to get right. So building the demand side to me is a lot more important. But to go back to your original question about what the focus or what are sort of like the projects to look at or sectors to look at, it's to me again, it's this is a Twitter space, so I'm very used to a lot of degens joining in, right, and looking for alpha. And in terms of that, it's not the same answer as what I would give a more academic audience on, what is the future of DePIN, like what I really think will succeed. So to the latter, I would say energy DePINs are really exciting to me because P2P energy trading has been a topic that the scientific community has been trying to solve for many, many years now. And I think that blockchain technology was recognized even as early as, I don't remember, maybe 2017, 2016, as a potential solution. And DePIN, especially with this, new hype cycle, has true potential to solve problems within the energy sector. And realistically, any sector like that. So if you go back years before DePIN existed and look at what people were looking into, using blockchain to solve in terms of physical infrastructure, those sorts of things are probably quite exciting. Whereas in terms of just total hype driven alpha, me personally, I'm only more so just invested in AI and DePIN, the crossover between the two, so that the intersection of that Venn diagram.
Do you think that the rise of, say, um, most of the storage and computing deepens are because of AI?
I don't think so. I think it's just because it's easier. People in the Web3 space are typically computer scientists or people with a computer science focus, and it's just an easy crossover for most people. Whereas like hardware engineers don't typically know much about blockchain. They don't know anything about web development, let alone blockchain. So it's hard to find that intersection and hard to convince them to build something.
Awesome. So that is why I think it's a lot of movement has happened towards, computing AI and stuff. Yes, Hara or Pankaj, if you want to add.
Yeah, let me even dare to raise the counter opinions. So that's why I think the supplier side is good. The key to DePIN is to involve many users. So yeah, the demand side is of course important, but emerging Airbnb, I think this is good example for this industry. So users can choose to use either if it is convenient. Of course, marketing is important, but I think it is important to have a choice that can be seen and experienced. Yeah, thank you.
That's very interesting. Actually, if I expand that for our own project like FarmSense, we always felt that if we have the sensors on board, then which is the supply side, then we can collect data. Now, demand is we have taken it for granted because the farmers really need to know to optimize their agriculture methods. So we are coming from the completely different side. Whereas a lot of time people think, who is going to build that much infrastructure? Like Daniel mentioned, right? One of the project I remember now is charge.xyz, right? It is difficult to visualize which centralized entity is going to prepare charging stations everywhere for the EVs. But if that can be decentralized, can it be made in a deep in way so everybody can participate? And I agree with Hara when he said it is about this so many people participating, or at least the opportunity to participate. Pankaj, you want to extend that?
Yeah, exactly. I was also going to say the same, that demand side is definitely important to sustain defense in long run. But since it's a very new narrative, people should have the motive to at least try out these products, right? And that can only happen when you give them a very smooth and good experience, equivalent or better than what Web2 kind of or centralized infrastructure companies kind of provide. And that is only possible if you build a very strong supply side first. And so I think unless you're very big already, big DePIN where you already have a lot of supply side build out, I would guess it's usually better to start from the supply side, just like you also expanded for farms and right. You can take any kind of platform example. Let's say Uber. They also started first by just incentivizing their drivers to just be on the roads even without their users. You can take Airbnb, like I said. You can pick any such infrastructure network or any such platform, and you'll notice this pattern where supply side has to come first. So I guess both are important, but there's a sequence to it, and I believe supply side has to come first, and that should be the focus if you're not already up there.
From witness chain perspective, how do you look at, like, what are the things for immediate addressing?
Yeah, so for witness chains perspective, so we are building this DePIN coordination layer, right? So in our case, also this is also a platform where multiple DePINs can come and build on top of and get this verification and coordination kind of services. And for us also, we kind of started with supply side first, building this huge operator pool that can run all of these protocols, like proof of location, proof of bandwidth, proof of diligence. So that is the whole, that is the primary motivation behind us joining EigenLayer as an AVS. They allowed us to get this operator network, the supply side for us very quickly and very uh, like this huge number. Right now we have $8 billion plus restake deed securing this network. That would now this attracts deepens and this attracts projects to build with us, and it doesn't come to them as, oh, okay, if you just build with them, what good is coming? Let them get big, right? So uh, for witness change perspective also, I think as a platform we also prioritize supply side first, and now we move on to the demand side. Yeah.
Would you expand on proof of location so that the listener knows exactly and can put it into perspective?
Oh yes, so proof of location is our in-house protocol. So this is different from GPS or any such protocol. So it's a decentralized protocol based on internet delays. So it can work with almost any network. So it's a Byzantine tolerant trigonometry is applied over internet delays mapped to distances, through which you can ascertain if a claimed location of a particular node in a network is correct or not. And this is extremely valuable for DePINs because DePINs, by definition, are supposed to be decentralized physical infrastructure networks. So they would like their supply side, their node providers or their node runners to actually be decentralized. And you can prove or a DePIN node who joins the DePIN network can prove that they are actually in a certain location with the help of this proof of location protocol. And that's about it. I can go a bit more in depth if that's, I'm not sure if that's relevant for this case.
Awesome. Anyone wants to add anything to this question?
Well, I guess I'm still very confused about the whole supply chain, supply chain versus the supply versus demand debate. Uh, I understand that there's a sequence to it. I totally agree. Obviously, supply comes first, but the in terms of focus, uh, shouldn't the focus on building the application layer of your protocol come immediately after you have gone live? Because to me, it seems that as a protocol, if you have gone live and the token has been issued, you are now in a race against time to catch demand up to where your token price is. So realistically, what's happening, and I've written. I mean, if I'm known for anything in the DePIN space, it's for my work on Burn and Mint, and in that we basically showed just through pure logic and game theoretic mathematics that something that is quite obvious. It's just the token price goes up in anticipation of future revenue. So as soon as that token gets issued, you are now in a race against time to deliver to your token holders. And at first, your token holders are going to be miners, and rather the ones that are pushing the price up are going to be miners, and they're going to be happy to do mine because they're getting a token, and the token is going up in price. Eventually, those miners become holders because there isn't so much token to give away, and at that point, they the token holders only look at the demand side. So this is, I mean, I think this is sort of obvious at this point, but maybe it's because we sort of showed it through just pure force of logic. But that's why I say, okay, focus immediately on the demand side, because that's what's going to sustain your network. Whereas what's going to make it grow in the initial phases, obviously, is the supply side.
I agree for the tokenomics perspective, but I think tokenomics need not necessarily, or the token price need not necessarily be tied up to the demand being generated. There are other mechanisms with smarter tokenomics that protocols can use, even DePINs, that can lead to their token being kind of rising, right? I don't really want to point to something specific, but so that was one reason why if you see a lot of modern tokenomics, they work on staking based protocols, whereas a lot of DePINs even now their tokens are just incentivizing the supply side. Even with incoming demand, the token doesn't really provide the utility from the demand side, right? So you need some way for the token to be utilized and create demand for the token itself, not for your network, outside or maybe within the network itself also. And I think that is what will drive the token price for DePINs. But for sustaining, I definitely agree that there needs to be demand, and in long run, you definitely prioritize demand, and that is what will sustain the entire ecosystem. But initially, and I think we are. I don't think most DePIN projects are at the state where they can do that. They don't have the luxury to focus on that just yet. That is what I view it as.
But a follow-up question to that is, why then, so if you can't focus on demand side from the beginning, then why are you issuing the token? Like, if you're saying I can't even do this at this time, then what's the point of issuing the token and building out a network? Because don't you run the danger of this network being useless? I mean, helium is the granddaddy of this is kind of a great example, because its IoT network got built out way too fast, and they weren't able to build out the application on top of the IoT network. Whereas now for mobile, I would say the lesson's been learned, and Nova is very much building out the usage on top of the network while they're building out the network as well. It's a very hard problem, but it seems to be, it seems to me that they're approaching it in a much more mature way, and other DePIN projects should probably do the same thing.
But don't you think in helium's case, like chicken comes first or egg comes first? If you don't have the supply over there, there is no way of using that network for benefit. Don't you think so?
No, I mean, obviously, the supply comes first. I think I already stated that, but the fact remains that to me it seems like supply comes first, yes, then demand, but it's a rate thing. It's not if this then that. It's yes, together, but supply comes first, and you try to catch demand up but you should do it immediately, not just wait a few years or something like that, because by then it'll be too late. You will have given out way too many tokens, and you will no longer be able to get interest to your project through the tokenomics, and your network may never recover. So it really is, once you issue the token, it's a race against time to build that demand, in my opinion. Obviously, you need to build a supply as well, but to me, that goes without saying, right? Like, obviously, to get people their service, you need to have some service to begin with. So obviously, I'm assuming that some supply exists, and you should expand that supply as you deem fit as a project.
And this
Yeah,
is great.
I think we were talking about the minimum supply threshold that you have to hit before you can start focusing on the demand. And after that, I think I agree, both go hand in hand, and you have to make the demand catch up to the supply and then push for both to grow. As far as token issuance is concerned, so token, I think, is a way to incentivize for your supply to stick with you until you bring this demand to them, right? Because your supply side being built early means they need some incentive to stick around with you. Again, going back to the same classic example where Uber was just paying out the drivers to be on the roads, even if there were no passengers opting for it, right? It's a similar thing. There they could pay in fiat. Now you pay it in tokens. And then it's up to the protocol to accelerate this demand side, like you suggested, after they have hit the minimum threshold where users feel comfortable using their protocol.
Yeah, this is a brilliant point made, Pankaj. Especially, I mean, when we are asking someone to give a service, we have to reward some way. So otherwise, there is no way for them to stick around. So yeah, this is brilliant. Hara, want to extend that? How do you do from a complete platform perspective when you can actually help many more such projects? What are the things you are looking at?
Oh, for me, yeah. Yeah, okay. I want to mention about token itself. So because it's also like a good information and also from professor. And also I think it's also, I joined the Jasmy 2018 and creates and writes a white paper for creating some tokenomics, and some Japanese say Jasmy is Japanese Bitcoin, but we don't have any like a tokenomics. Yeah, it's so sad story. So that's why I want to emphasize about this like a tokens. I think for token, they are similar to a newly issued current, like a currency, like, yeah, by the king. So it is used to develop the castle towns, and the country whose currency is monopolized by the king will not develop, right? You know. So no inhabitant wants a piece of paper, only paper from the start. So to get everyone to trust the like currencies, so you guys need goods or resources, some services to exchange for the papers, right? It's paper means the tokens. So that's why of course, the demand side is of course includes important, but I mostly focus on this supplier side because they trust and also create some tokenomics. So this is also good communities, especially, yeah, we management should focus on like, talk, continuous and talk and like discuss about something like how to create some economies and so how to add the value for these tokens. But it's not so true meaning of this creating some new token and get only earn by tokens, right? It's important for the background of this, just the papers. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Bas, want to add something to it?
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
So it's great and also very important, I think. Sorry.
No worries. No, yeah, I agree with the sentiment here, and it's more of a symbiotic relationship, I would say, between supply and demand. You need to grow them at the same time, at a similar rate, but yeah, obviously without supply, there's no way for demand to start. So logically, this comes first in a chain, but in the end, for there to be any long-term value, demand needs to catch up to that as well. And I do agree that there's no people coming to your project, starting on it, and if there's no incentive for them to do so. So I do think these incentives are very important in order for people to come and also stick around with you till you get to a point where it's where demand catches up with the supply.
I also note I was speaking to the other day with the World Mobile Token, and they were referring a lot towards the geographical things that, especially in DePIN, that it is empowering in certain geographies. For example, it was almost impossible for a country like Tanzania, um, that anyone can earn anything from DePIN before, but that now is creating a market economy, like in Tanzania, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, things like that. um, what's your opinion? What do you think that does it create a level playing field? Are we giving more opportunity to so-called like third world countries?
Yeah. So maybe I can go first. So certainly, I think it does give them, because if you think about a lot of these countries in the development state, or upcoming countries, that upcoming economies, maybe not the very bad state ones, maybe, but the ones which are still doing okay but are still growing rapidly. For them, it's a very huge opportunity to actually capitalize on this and grow even more rapidly. It provides them a very good way to match up to this global economic standards. Um, so all of us have hardware, right? If you're in a third world country, or even if you're in a first world country, right? You all have phones, you all have laptops, computers, and DePINs. A lot of DePINs allow you to get incentivized for renting out, or just providing this as a supply to their network, and you don't have to specifically invest in a separate hardware. Of course, there are DePINs with specialized hardwares, but in general, right, DePINs definitely um, can help these countries' economies to get a huge boost. And yeah.
Bas, go ahead.
Yeah, I do agree that lowering barriers of entry is the crux to getting broader adoption for any DePIN protocol or ecosystem. So, in a sense, for these developing countries, that is this all of a sudden gives them a lot more, a lot more room to participate in these networks. And as Professor mentioned earlier on, as well, with the older networks like Bitcoin and the first altcoins, this barrier of entry was very high. But currently, this is getting lower and lower because everybody has devices, or most people have devices, phones, laptops, you name it. So yeah, I think that's very important in order to even be able to participate.
Anyone else want to add to that? That is very valid.
In my opinion, I would say that the theoretical answer to your question is 100% that underdeveloped countries can benefit from this technology. The reason being that with development, it creates some debt, tech debt, let's call it, and obviously inefficiencies rise, and Web3 can solve a lot of that. And with underdeveloped countries, they haven't developed their infrastructure. Some of these countries well enough, and they can just skip all that and go straight to perhaps DePIN, something like a P2P energy trading might be simpler to do in such countries. However, the reality can be a lot more complicated, and we often see that uh, more developed countries are richer, and they are more willing to fund the development of their own underdeveloped regions, uh, and for that reason, you might see growth in those regions more so than you would see in like a country that obviously can't fund that. So one example would be in the United States, where areas with, again, back to helium, sorry, but areas with low cell phone coverage, poorer areas perhaps, where helium has shown their IoT network has shown to stay online more robustly than existing solutions. Uh, that network will be funded by public money from the United States more easily than the community funded efforts you might find in some places, for example in Africa, where helium also had back in the day had a focus, but it never really panned out the way that we all expected.
So well done. You guys were so amazing. And before we conclude, I would like to know what keeps you guys so excited about Deep in Space, and any closing thoughts. Just go ahead, feel free.
Think we are just getting started with DePINs. It's a long way to go. And I'm really excited about all the things to come, be it AI in DePINs, be it consent or energy networks, right? Data networks. They're all very important. They're all very, real. They all provide real world utility. And the best part is everything is community owned, right? And there's still so many opportunities and so many things to decentralize and give power back to the community. And I think this is a really exciting field, and we are just getting started, right? DePIN was coined just 2 years back, and we are just getting started building the narrative and take it to the new heights. Yeah.
So yeah, what I like in general about DePIN, it's the thing that it's kind of transition to the new system of division of labor. So it's like a possibility of combining like different high-end technologies, which helps us to read off different kind of intermediaries and create a DePIN project in the scale of the whole world. So it's kind of like having thousands of employees all around the world who do not require accounting or kind of legal support from the headquarter, like from you. So yeah, so in general, it's kind of about speed, accuracy, and security of interaction between all the participants, which is kind of it increases many times compared to what we have in a centralized world. And it's impossible to build the same thing in a web to market, and impossible to control everything in a web to market as it can happen in a decentralized world. So yeah, that's what I really like about DP.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I can go. So to me, I'm excited to continue this Web3 journey that that started long before DePIN. I think DePIN is the next great iteration of this Web3 experiment. It's going to last a very long time. We're very much in the early innings, and this excites me a lot. And hopefully, we continue to make money and build really cool technology and use that money to build even more cool technology. So that's it.
Thank you for oversimplifying it. Yes, boss.
Yeah, what excites me about the future is that what I like about DePIN in general now is that we finally, have this name where we scale a lot of projects that we've seen over the years under, and that we're getting more and more infrastructure with DePIN focused layer ones like Peak Network, like IoTex. But I do think that's only just the beginning. I'm also looking forward to seeing more interoperability developed in the sector, because I think that's a key ingredient as well. And that ease of use keeps getting better and better, because not just with DePIN, but with crypto in general, I think ease of use is the key to adoption for the majority of audiences, and that includes a lot of non-tech native audiences as well as semi-tech native audiences. And I think we're seeing so many cool applications for DePIN already, with projects from Silencio to Nadix, to the OGs like Filecoin and Sia and you name it. But I think there's a lot more interesting applications for DePIN that we haven't seen yet. So I'm super excited to see where this space is heading in the future.
Hara, want to go?
Yeah. So thank you so much for today's AMA. So for the topic of developing company, for example, in Cambodia, blockchain from Japan called Bakon, a stablecoin by Hyperledger Iroha is used. And Japan is a huge community for STEPN, or many of IONET users come from Japan also. So we have great technology coming here from Japan, and we will provide services that will change the world. So we will further activate the community, and we will provide a lot of services with very clear regulations. So that's why I want to say again. So I believe this is the game-changing world that the new DePIN will bring. So it's not trend; it's a new century. Yeah. Thank you so much.
That is very nice, Hara. Thank you, everyone, for part of it. For the listeners, please follow all our speakers so that we keep hearing their viewpoints. This 1 hour is not enough. Oh God, we actually spent 1 hour. So thank you so much. And thank you for everybody who attended this and continuing supporting our initiative. Our main focus is to bring diverse opinion across different geographies, and we try our best so that we can keep hearing these experts and try to learn from them and implement in our project, and as well as we can also pass that on to a lot of interesting projects. For example, Palm, who's I must give a shout out to these guys. They're coming up with their PG. Please support them. Ex Machina, one of the project which is building robotics. Please support them. And thank you, everybody. Please do follow and take the chat to the Twitter or to X. Okay. So have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for the invite.